Hey guys, and welcome back to Gregtech New Horizons. Last episode we expanded out our base again and we set up 2 distillation towers and an oil cracking unit. We also upgraded the coils from Canthal to Nichrome on our second blast furnace here. And of course we now have armour and hazmat protection, which is important for all those blast furnaces. I see an arrow through the wall. Must be nothing. So up until this point we've been handling fluid transfer using these Gregtech pipes. And while these pipes are quite cheap, we do need a way to elegantly handle all of these fluid outputs. Things are going to get very messy if we start using these fluid pipes. So I would like to look into the ender fluid conduits. However, this is far from the default recipe. We need polyethylene, which we have, vibrant alloy, and also PTFE, or Polytetrafluoroethylene. So as is becoming a common theme in this series, we are going to start off today by moving our miner, which is currently on another iron and copper vein. Oh yeah. We take the miner. And this miner is going to go on a Twilight Forest cryolite vein. Yes, this stuff right here. Basically, the reason we need cryolite dust is to electrolyze into fluorine. And fluorine we're going to combine in a chemical reactor with hydrogen to give us hydrofluoric acid. But since the miner will take a while, let's move on to the next part of this, which is to combine chlorine and methane. And then I'm assuming we combine both of these together to give our tetrafluoroethylene and then polytetrafluoroethylene. So the methane gas we're actually producing twice. We have some out of our Pyrolyse Oven. Well, not exactly. We have fermented biomass here, which we can run through a distillery, and I believe this gives us methane gas. And we're also getting it out of our distillation tower here for oil. Maybe the top slot? Yes, we are. Okay, so this is our methane gas sorted out. Eventually things will be piped and fully automated, but for now, we just move things manually. I have also been working on a little project here between episodes to try to get some more crops. Not weeds though, we don't want weeds. So for the chlorine here, this is actually a very big part of the game. Chlorine is used everywhere, and it's not something very easy to get at the moment either. Our best bet at the moment I think is to electrolyze sodalite, and we have managed to build up a very nice amount of sodalite ore, which after we macerate here in the steam grinder, we're going to send through our industrial large sifter. And that's going to produce us way more sodalite than we can use at the moment. The other thing we should note here is that electrolysis of cryolite dust does require an HV electrolyzer. We don't have an HV electrolyzer, do we? No, this is a centrifuge right here. Well, let's resolve that problem first of all. Very easy machine to craft. Since we are going to be handling so many fluids in the near future here, I think it's only appropriate to craft some more super tanks. I was going to go with the second tier, but this is HV pumps, MV circuits, and vibrant alloy, which we do have to make this episode, but the tier 1s are certainly not cheap, taking 4 circuits each, leaving us with 1 LV circuit left. But we're still going to craft them. In fact, yeah, we do have 47 of the integrated versions, but I think I'll make up some more microprocessors later on. We're going to need it for what we have planned. It's been like 5 minutes, and check out the amount of sodalite we have. Plus all of this still to be washed. And probably more in here, yeah. This sifter was a seriously good investment. So the HV electrolyzer super tank below, sodalite above, and now we wait. This is also gonna give us alumina, which of course equals aluminium, and we're kind of low on this. We have around 500 ingots left. Oh, and you know what? I just realized here, we have 447 cryolite in our drawer. That is going to turn into a lot of fluorine for us, and I also just realized I put the sodalite in the HV electrolyzer. The sodalite is an MV recipe, and the cryolite has to go in HV. Yeah, those are going to need swapped around. Hold on. Alright, so it's been a while later, we now have this new setup here for Polytetrafluoroethylene. And similar to the rest of the setups in our base, it's all very manual for now, until we get access to something like Applied Energistics, which will probably still be a few weeks away. But yeah, there's really nothing to this setup to be honest. We just have 2 LV chemical reactors. First one here mixes hydrogen with what? Hydrogen with fluorine, yeah. First one mixes hydrogen with fluorine, automatically sent out the top on this iron pipe, and is put into this HV chemical reactor as hydrofluoric acid. The one underneath combines our methane and chlorine together. Oh wait, chlorine has to go in this slot. Yep, this gives us hydrochloric acid byproduct, which we store below in this tank, and the item is sent on this item pipe into the HV chemical reactor. if this isn't blocked. I think I'll put that in there manually, but it shouldn't fill up the 2 slots like this, just the way that Gregtech is programmed. And I want to make sure that we pick up enough for the quest, so we need 144 chlorine cells. That's crazy. I don't even know if we have 144 empty cells like this. However, our electrolyzers have been hard at work here processing all of the sodalite. We have tons and tons of chlorine here, we just have to bottle it all up. Since the distillation tower setup isn't complete, we do end up voiding items if we don't take care of the outputs of that thing. So I just set up a little single basic distillery here just to distill the fermented biomass into methane gas. All this actually costs us is some power and wheat, and we basically have infinite wheat because of our farm over there. However, I was just checking the power here and we have a bit of a situation. Yeah, as you can see, this thing is draining quite heavily. I mean, it's going up right now because it just finished a batch, but this was at 2 million this morning. So we're going to run out of power pretty quickly here. I think our blast furnaces are going to have to pause a little bit. But let's first of all finish this polytetrafluoroethylene setup, since it will help us address this fuel system. I do have a plan for this, by the way, and it may actually be something we expedite a little bit and tackle today instead of what we had planned before, since running out of fuel would be disastrous. Anyways, we need a lot of methane in this chemical reactor, so I think we'll place a little buffer tank here we can insert the chlorine into. Wait, did I say methane? I meant chlorine. We need a pump on this. We did pick up enough for the quest, right? Yeah, so we just need to get our chloroform. This needs a muffling upgrade really badly. It looks like we've stopped here because we're backed up on hydrochloric acid. This is definitely not something we want to void here. So we're going to switch this out with one of our super tanks. Wow, this really does take so much I think I've put 2 stacks of cells in here. And we only have 25 chloroform cells, which should be enough for the quest, mind you. Now we can turn on this H3 chemical reactor again. This is going to give us the tetrafluoroethylene, which we send below to this next chemical reactor. Mix it with oxygen, which is coming from this tank. And this also gives us diluted hydrochloric acid. So I did make this new distillery over here, where we have another super tank of hydrochloric acid. And this thing will just distill it into regular hydrochloric acid. So again, this is manual, but I just wanted to make it easy to batch craft, and we can easily disassemble these machines whenever we rebuild the setup. Oh, and for some reason it wants us to pick up the hydrofluoric and chloroform again. Okay, that is a strange quest. We'll need to get some more chlorine for this. Now we just have to enable this chemical reactor, and this is going to produce us molten polytetrafluoroethylene. Mission number 1 accomplished. Then all we have to do is fluid solidify these into sheets. And now we have 2 stacks of go to hell. If any of you guys get that reference. Alright, so with PTFE we can now make our fluid pipe here for the ender fluid conduits. The next part we need to look at is vibrant alloy. So the chrome we've been using for stainless steel, the energetic alloy, we can make another batch of this. And the final piece for this is ender eye dust, which take blaze powder and ender pearls. 2 materials we don't really have the ability to get easily. I mean, we do have 18 ender pearls here. The perks of not lighting your base, eh? But the blaze powder, not so easy to get. Which is why I wanted to start this little project here with the crops. We got this blaze reed, which can give us blaze powder. I think we got this from a quest bag last episode, but I really want to duplicate it. If we were to break this right now, there is a chance that we lose the seed. As was the case with black stone lily, which would have allowed us to get biotite, and therefore chlorine a lot easier, but that's not going to happen. Since we lost the seed for it, and I don't want to lose this blaze reed, this is our only one. Except we are on a little bit of a timer here because of our fuel situation. Oh yeah, look at all of the alumina we got from processing all of that sodalite. That was definitely worth it. We're swimming in aluminium now. And I was going to start up the blast furnaces again, but I think we may hold off just because of our fuel situation. So we're going to give a little upgrade to our crossbow here. Okay, chicken, are you going to sacrifice yourself? I need a feather. He didn't give us a feather. How about you? You've been giving me eggs all day every time I come and check these crops over here. Oh, actually we don't need a feather, we're going to use slime leaf instead. And 436 seconds later on this fluid solidifier, we should have an energetic alloy bolt. This is tipped with vanadium steel, and we're going to use our slime leaf fletching. Look at that, 504 ammo with the 1 bolt. And actually we're going to use our one and only ball of moss on this. Since we have such a high ammo cap on this, the ball of moss means we basically never have to worry about ammo count ever again. Oh wait, we don't have a modifier, do we? Can we still use the block of diamond and gold in this pack? Oh, we can, yeah, we can add a modifier like this. Add our ball of moss to make it auto repair. Alright, it's time to find some blazes. Hopefully we don't regret this decision. They're all going to be infernal, watch this. Aha, the first blaze. One shot. Get one shot. No blaze rod though. I feel like we're a bit overpowered here for the nether. This nano suit is making this a bit too easy. Well, that was a tiny blaze. Literally the easiest 18 blaze rods ever. Plus all this useless garbage as well. Hello, old friend. It's nice to meet you again. I don't think so. Not this time. This little enderman in there looks like he's enjoying himself. So as the quest book recommends, we can actually buy enderman spawn eggs. And they do have a chance to be regenerating, which means if we get a regenerating one inside our smeltery, we can permanently keep it there and just infinitely farm ender pearls. It looks like we're not so lucky now. And I looked at him, apparently. Where did he go? There he is. Well, we do have at least enough to get our first little batch. I would like to do some other things with the PTFE as well, so we're not going to use all of it on the ender fluid conduits. How do the output chests always end up so full everywhere? I mean, I feel like I just cleaned out all of these things and look at them. Oh, and we get the extra byproducts from the HV macerator for blaze powder as well. Nice. So we first mixed the ender eye, and I made up some more energetic alloy, some chrome, and finally we have vibrant alloy. Assuming we can actually smelt the dust through our blast furnace, this is what, 3600 Kelvin? Which is nichrome. Okay, we're good. We're good. 150 seconds per Ingeku. Alright, so while waiting on all of the vibrant alloy, some of which we still have to run through the vacuum freezer here, I decided it was actually time that we fixed this fuel supply. It's gone up a little bit, but as soon as we put any strain on the system or run the blast furnaces, this fuel system drops, and we could technically just upgrade these distilleries as this is our bottleneck. But I think instead what we're going to do is take this Pyrolyse Oven setup a little further and actually finish this off to make Cetane-Boosted Diesel. So Cetane-Boosted Diesel will burn much longer than the regular diesel we are currently using to fuel the base. And we are also going to need it pretty soon to be able to get to the moon. This is how we power our tier 1 and 2 rockets. So I've been busy crafting up all the materials I think we're going to need. There's still a few things we're missing out of these chests. But we do have one more distillation tower, a few machines at various tiers, chemical reactors and mixers, and 2 large chemical reactors here. This is the other reason we wanted PTFE today. Other than the PTFE though, it's really not that expensive. So just to briefly explain how we get Cetane-Boosted Diesel, there is actually 2 methods on how to obtain this. We first of all need to create ammonia, which we are going to get from fermented biomass distillation, which is what our distillation tower is for. So that is going to be our step number 1, and I'm trying to figure out where exactly we want to place this. Okay, so what we're going to do here is actually switch this around so that the compressors in these machines are on the left-hand side of this Pyrolyse Oven. And then we'll put the distillation tower on here, and we'll work left to right. So I want to make sure there's no more fuel in here. We don't want to waste it. In fact, I have cut off the fuel supply here at this junction, so there shouldn't be any more past this point here. And I guess we don't need this distillery anymore either. Make sure we grab all the fuel out of this thing. Alright, everything has been reversed. We have some massive debuffs from picking up that super tank there. And we'll have to replace the generators in the back of these things. Make sure that we do the right tier, this is basic. Alright, and we'll hold off on the fuel line since eventually we'll want to switch this to Cetane-Boosted Diesel anyway. So this is where we want to place our distillation tower and things start to get expensive. We're going to be left with 1 workstation left. But we will craft this 3rd distillation tower here. And certainly not our last either. Distill everything. So yeah, this distillation tower is going to take our fermented biomass and we'll place it right about here. No, here. Yeah, so something like this. This is going to give us 8 different outputs here if it wants to form the multi-block. Oh, there's a casing in the middle. I crafted one too many. I think we can melt these down for our stainless steel back. This also gives us fertilizer. Eventually we will use this for another version of the crops for IC2. This has to be at least an HV recipe, so we'll place our turbo combustion generator. I still have to craft some more of these generators, but this one was actually meant for this one here. Wait, that's a machine hull. I was wondering where that went. Yeah, that's supposed to be for this macerator, but we have enough fermented biomass to test this system out, so I'll replace that later on. So if we give this some fuel to burn, and we perform some maintenance on this thing, give it a whack with the mallet. Nice. Okay, so we're getting acetic acid, water, ethanol, methanol, ammonia, which we need, methane gas, and CO2 gas. Okay, let's turn this off for now. I think we'll place some super tanks on here. Okay, so that is step number 1 completed. We got 3 super tanks here on the liquids that we actually want from this. We do want the rest, maybe besides the water, but we'll deal with the rest later on. That, and we're also out of super tanks. This is our last one here. So I noticed to unlock the quest here, we're missing the nitrogen quest. Basically the quest book here wants us to do this route for ammonia instead of the distillation tower to take hydrogen and nitrogen through a chemical reactor, but we're not going to do that. We do still need to unlock the quest for this though, unfortunately, so we're going to make up some nitrogen manually here, using our centrifuge, some compressed air coming from the compressor. We do need to give these some fuel, and when we centrifuge compressed air, we're going to get the nitrogen gas that we need for our quest only. I mean, the rewards for these things aren't that great to be fair, but I would rather pick up the quest while we're doing it right now. Anyways, while we wait on that thing, the next stage for these fluids, or gases, is the large chemical reactors. And since we need 2 of these things, both taking the inputs from the distillation tower, apparently these can also share walls. So I kind of want to try that out. I believe they're 3x3 each, but if you're sharing the wall, it removes one of the layers. Oh, that is weird. I don't like that. Face the correct way, please. There we go. Yeah, so the pipe casing goes in the middle of the multi-block. We need a cupronickel coil, a maintenance hatch on each one, which will go on the right hand side of the controller. We've got that on every other multi-block, so we may as well stay consistent here. We will be running these at LV, so we need energy inputs for both of these. The inputs we'll put on the back side, and the outputs we'll put on the right hand side to go this way. And the rest I think is just casings. And once again, we are 5 casings short. I'm not very good at this whole casing thing, am I? Okay, there we go. We have 2 multi-blocks formed here, and they do correctly share walls. And we'll need some way to power these multi-blocks. We're going to be running them at LV. So we'll make up 6 combustion generators. If I counted right, this should service all the rest of these machines that we're going to need. We'll also need 1 more HV as well. Actually, 2 more. But we need to replace that one I took from the other setup. And we also need a fluid extractor as well. Okay, combustion generators on the back of the LCRs. I have also started hooking up some of the fluids here that we're going to need for these things. So we're going to do these LCRs one at a time. This first bottom one here is going to make sulfuric acid. Using this recipe here, we have circuit 24 in the input bus. We've given it some sulfur, we're going to input water and oxygen. I don't know if this tape completely removes the need for maintenance or if it just delays it, but at least we don't have to use our toolbox here and do it all manually. But if we give this a little whack with the mallet here, oh, we're out of power. I didn't power these generators, yeah. Okay, now do you run? I think the problem is we're not getting enough water in here since our distillation tower isn't running. We probably need a reservoir. And we are actually starting to run low on some basic materials here like steel and tin. We're using so many resources in the last few days. And I've kind of been letting the miners sit a little bit too long idle. Okay, this is probably going to get moved, but the reservoir we put down here for now. And in fact, we can even swap the position of the input hatch so that it's on the bottom. And I guess we'll keep it connected to our distillation tower here. Okay, now are you going to produce us sulfuric acid? No. It does use up the sulfur dust. We put in a full stack here, so I have no idea why this isn't working. Aha, we're running. So basically what happened there was we had the energy hatch 1 too low. The most important part is we're now making sulfuric acid. We do need to figure out a way to automatically disable this whenever there is sulfuric acid in the output hatch. As if this ever ends up full and it keeps running, then it will just void the sulfuric acid, which obviously we don't want. So now for the next step, I think we'll set it up over here. We're going to leave a little bit of space after the LCR. So basically what we're trying to do here is create ethanol. So we have our sulfuric acid, we have acetic acid, which is coming out of the distillation tower. So we have to route both of those things into another chemical reactor. Actually, I didn't make sure, is all of this covered? Yeah, we're we're good. We're not going to end up with any explosions here. Yeah, so we want this recipe here for ethanol. I guess this is an MV chemical reactor, yeah. I did craft an MV one. There's just too many chemical reactors to remember. Okay, so once that chemical reactor down there is up and running, we're going to get our ethanone. The other part of tetranitromethane is nitric acid, which is what our second LCR here is going to do. This also is going to take oxygen back here, which for now we're just having in this little tank down here, which is actually empty. Yeah, we'll have to figure out an oxygen supply, but that is input to these two input buses. The combustion generator, we give some power. And the second input hatch is actually taking its fluid from the distillation tower again, which is ammonia. And this, along with circuit 24, which apparently goes in the controller here, we have circuit 24 in both, should give us our nitric acid. Oh, we need a pump on here. Oh hey, green lights, it's running, okay. 16 second per recipe, but it does require 1,000 litres at least in the input hatch. Are we going to get our nitric acid here? Any second now, there we go, okay, nitric acid. Although, you know what? Things down here are getting very spaghetti, which is exactly what I wanted to avoid at the start of this episode. Maybe before taking this any further, we should look into our ender fluid conduits. Yeah, let's do that. The vibrant alloy should be finished by now. I still can't wrap my head around how expensive these ender fluid conduits are. Each recipe only gives us one as well, so it's one vibrant alloy for one ender fluid conduit. That's crazy. Oh, conduits at last. At last. It's been too long. Oh no, but we're working with the old UI. I forgot about this thing. Yep, this is 1.7. I can't complain though, really. We have ender fluid conduits. Okay, conduits have been installed. We are now making our ethanone here, along with diluted sulfuric acid, which I didn't actually realise. We're going to have to put a distillery, I think, below this, which should distill it back into regular sulfuric acid, which we can then just cycle back into this fluid tank. But yeah, this ethanone then has to go into another chemical reactor here. Yeah, let's leave ourselves some space. That's also going to take the nitric acid from the top of the second LCR. And this will make us our tetranitromethane, although since we're doing this as a single block chemical reactor and not the multi-block, we do still have to deal with these cells. And it's a similar situation over here actually, where we have to fill empty cells of sulfuric acid. And so I did just implement one of these extract covers here, but it would be really nice to be able to use iron conduits instead. How far away are we from iron conduits? Oh, this is just pulsating iron. Still expensive, but we should have some pulsating iron left, I think. We got 3. No! Okay, it's redstone alloy, ender pearl dust, and iron dust. That's easy enough to mix. Yeah, it's even a fast recipe, 2 seconds per dust. Oh, and I may have made too much dark steel here. I wanted like 2 ingots for some shears to shear the sheep over there. That's a lot of shears right there. And it's just 20 seconds per recipe in this specific blast furnace with the nitrum. 60 in the other one here, even with the oxygen. In this version of Ender.io, the filters for the conduits are built in on the fluid only, so we do have to create some of the item ones. And it looks like we accidentally made a drain module cover. I have no clue what this even does. But there's the item filters. And the best item in the game, the item conduits. Oh, this is so exciting. There's probably a quest for it as well, we just haven't unlocked it. Okay, so I borrowed this distillery actually from the one that we're using for hydrochloric there, and I realised that this is an item form, the diluted sulfuric acid. So I think instead of doing this recipe here to get the diluted in the cell, we can actually switch this to circuit 1 and get the diluted as the fluid, and then put the ethanone in the cell on the output of the chemical reactor. That just means that we'll have to shift this tank over a little bit, and in fact we could probably put it straight on the output of this LCR, and then just hook it up to this conduit right here. Yeah, and that way we can put the distillery right next to the chemical reactor here. So that means instead of filtering acetic acid in as fluid here, we'll change the filter to sulfuric acid, and then we just have to can the acetic. Yes, it works, okay. So I added a little buffer tank here, which takes the acetic acid from the bottom tank of our distillation tower, and then we extract on brown channel, insert on brown channel into the chemical reactor here as the cell, where it mixes with the sulfuric acid we're getting from this tank here. So this now means that we can put 2 pumps on the distillery and the chemical reactor. Actually, we only need 1 pump, don't we? Yeah, 1 pump to export the diluted sulfuric acid. And then the ethanone as a cell has to go into this advanced chemical reactor. So we actually don't need this fluid tank anymore. So we can just connect this up to our conduit network. We'll filter the ethanone in this chemical reactor and send the empty cells back to be filled with acetic acid here. Alright, so I decided to hook up the rest of this setup. I'm not entirely sure how this is going to turn out, but it's really hard to set this up and try to explain it at the same time. So this is where we got up to, the tetranitromethane, with the ethanone and nitric acid. This tetranitromethane has to go through a mixer with either biodiesel or regular diesel, and we'll probably end up doing both, as we can easily produce diesel from that distillation tower setup over there. But I really wanted to do biodiesel. I think it would be a lot more fun, so this is what we got here. The first step takes seeds from our farm, which we still have to hook up, but that goes into a fluid extractor to give us seed oil. Using seeds like this is not optimal, as it only gives us, I think, 10 millibuckets per operation. I'm working on breeding up some seeds for this specific purpose. But yeah, that makes seed oil. It gets canned in the seed oil cells, and then is sent on a conveyor to a chemical reactor where it gets ethanol. And the ethanol comes from our distillation tower. I think it's this one here. No, this one here has ethanol in it. We're just sending that along our ender fluid conduits, and then we're filtering in the side of this thing. Then on the opposite side here, we have another chemical reactor taking water from a reservoir. It also grabs sodium dust, which we're now absolutely swimming in after processing all of that chlorine earlier on. So that is brought in via conveyor module. We have a pump on the top to export hydrogen, which we get as a byproduct. And this produces sodium hydroxide dust, which we're then putting into a basic packager with a schematic for dusts. It took me quite a while to figure this out, to be honest, but I think if we power this basic combustion generator back here, it's not going to do anything great. This packager and unpackager setup is different to Community Edition. I have no clue how these things work. Basically what we want here is tiny piles of sodium hydroxide, where if we give this thing power, this is going to chemical react into biodiesel. And also give us glycerol, which we're going to send to the fluid tank below. Quite a slow recipe. We'll have to consider buffers and things. I think our biggest bottleneck in this system is going to be the seed oil and also acetic acid. And the biodiesel we just have to send into this mixer, along with the tetranitromethane, which is going to make our Cetane-Boosted Diesel. And this we can send to the bottom side into a super tank, and this will be our main storage for cetane. And this, I think, will hook up to our main fuel supply that we already have running through our base. Should be through this wall. Yeah, this pipe right here. So everything is going to run off cetane now, rather than the regular diesel we have over there. I think this mixer also gives us an empty cell as well, which is just sent back to be filled for seed oil. But yeah, we can turn this back. Oh yeah, it does. Empty cell goes back into fill seed oil, which should go back into the chemical reactor. And this is a fast recipe, but yeah, there are bottlenecks in this system, of course. And we still have to hook up all of the power systems. I've just been manually filling these combustion generators for now. But yeah, we did it. We have cetane boosted. You shouldn't be down there. Cetane is going to allow us to power the rocket and reach space, hopefully in the next few episodes. So yeah, there's still some more cleanup to do with this setup. I'll try to work on this a bit between episodes to get it cleaned up. But I think we're going to wrap things up here for today. I'm not entirely sure, as I mentioned, how this is going to turn out. It's really difficult to try to explain this while doing it at the same time. Anyways, that is going to do us for today. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you all soon for some more Gregtech New Horizons.